Welcome to Black and Gold Today, a game day look at your Pittsburgh Steelers. Now here are your hosts, Jay Pushkar and Mike Gallagher.
Hi, and welcome to Week 5 of Black and Gold Today. I'm Jay Pushkar alongside Mike Gallagher. And Mike, the Steelers are finally off the schneid as they pick up their first win of the season. They do it at home versus Cincinnati on Monday night.
And I know we're going to address Cincinnati, but all I want to say is we beat Baltimore, the narrative changes.
It's amazing how quickly it does change in 2 weeks.
It's the National Football League, and things can change in a hurry with a win this week. But Monday night was fun.
Well, here's what's coming up on Black and Gold today. We'll recap the much-needed win at Heinz Field as the Steelers try to dig themselves out of that 0-3 start. It's also a short work week for the Black and Gold as they stay in the AFC North this week, with Baltimore coming into town for a Sunday afternoon showdown. It was a special weekend for the organization as well as they celebrated this year's Hall of Honor class. And we'll also have our weekly fan sound-off segment, our flashback feature, and much more. All of that coming up today on Black and Gold Today. Let's kick off the show by looking back at the 27-3 victory on Monday night against the Bengals. Steelers quarterback Ben Roethlisberger on the field during pregame and clearly in the process of recovery with his elbow being repaired. Picked things up in the first half of play. Bengals were nursing a 3-0 lead. Mason Rudolph able to find James Conner for the touchdown. The play was good for 21 yards. The Steelers led 10-3 at the half. On to the third quarter of play. Pittsburgh going with the Wildcat formation. Jalen Samuels with the 2-yard touchdown run. Steelers extending their lead to 17-3. Then the defense was just incredible all night long. They recorded 8 sacks of Andy Dalton. Cam Hayward getting 2.5 sacks on the night personally. Still in the third quarter of play, Steelers put the game out of reach. Rudolph airing it out to Deontay Johnson for the 43-yard pitch and catch. Steelers win big on their home turf, 27-3 over now the winless Bengals.
We had a lot of checkdowns, so we saw that last game, that he could have threw a lot of checkdowns when we were playing San Fran that he didn't do. So it was a growing moment for him, to throw them checkdowns today, and it gave us a couple first downs, 2nd and 5. It was getting us a manageable third down. So that was a big improvement for Mason.
And whoever it is, man, we got 3 really good, talented backs, and so I believe all of us are talented runners, and all of us can, have good hands as well. And so, man, it's fun. It's fun with me and him and are in a rhythm going back and forth, and he made a lot of big plays tonight too, so it was just fun out there.
Really, I just went out there to try to help the team win, just do my job. We had bounced back from last week and started off slow, and then we had to come out tonight and get this win because it was a real big win that we needed, and it was a division game, so we showed that tonight. Now we're just trying to get ready for this week's games come Sunday.
It feels good, man. We clicked today. We had fun today. That's the biggest thing. We had fun. We got a big win, divisional win. So, the record book speaks for itself, the stats.
Everything was just kind of clicking. I think we got out to that early lead, which really helps the pass rush up front and just helps us defensively kind of pin our ears back and fly around and let the guys in the back cover. And obviously see the 2 inside guys flying around, killing any screens and all that stuff, and just letting the guys up front eat.
All right, Mike, let's take a look at the game summary. First on offense, Mason Rudolph was efficient, and the receivers and the running backs stepped up and delivered.
It was certainly fun to watch, and keep in mind, Rudolph got a game ball because it was his first NFL win as a starting quarterback, and Tomlin, I think, said after, the young man deserved it.
And he certainly deserved it after that efficiency, going 20 of 24 and over 200 yards passing and those 2 touchdowns. Defensively, the Steelers were outstanding. 8 sacks in the game. The linebackers were terrific, thanks to T.J. Watt and guys like Devin Bush.
And what can you say about Cam Hayward? I mean, he went out with a quad injury, had it taped up, and limped his way back onto the field because he was going to be out there, and he made a difference.
And he's been quiet for the most part of this start of the season, too, so it was great to see him get back into the fold and really deliver.
But he's that leader on and off the field, and I know my son Sean, who was shooting still photos, he had all these photos of them wrapping him back up, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's out. And boom, and you look out there and he's making another sack. I said, is that the guy whose leg they were just wrapping on the sideline? But that's the kind of leader he is, the kind of guy he is. He's accountable. He's if they're really going to turn this ship around, he's going to be one of the pilots and captains of that ship.
And you mentioned you were on the field for those still photography moments on Monday night. As we take a look at some of those images, what were your overall thoughts from Monday night's game, and how critical of a victory was it for Pittsburgh to now get themselves back in the mix?
Well, first you saw their Tyler Boyd returning home, and Ben Roethlisberger first time back. James Conner striking a pose. I think he knows the photographers because he knows how to find them, and this is my favorite guy. This guy was celebrating from start to finish. He even liked the Wildcat. And Conner, that touchdown was a big one for him. And what was special to me is when Samuel scored, when Conner scored, the celebration amongst them all.
I noticed some dancing was going on.
It wasn't just the guy scored. That is not Conner's touchdown where he's celebrating there. That is Samuel's touchdown where he was more excited about his touchdown than his own. And there you saw Kevin Green, who was waving the terrible towel, and Ben may have had the biggest smile of anybody on the sideline watching the young kid have some success. And, you know, a lot of question about that Wildcat. Hey, if it's a win, I don't care what cat it is. Just keep them in the game.
As long as it's successful. Well, before we look ahead to Sunday's game with Baltimore, the newest class of the Steelers Hall of Honor were enshrined and celebrated on Monday night. Time now to hear from this year's class in a piece put together by videographer Kent Urbanski.
It's a special night. It started last night with an opportunity to sit there with Larry Brown, Hines Ward, and the Nickel family. And you know, when you think about the legendary people that are in the Hall of Honor, it's very humbling. And for a little kid who grew up 4 miles on the other side of the mountain where the incline is, it's very, very special.
I think it's fitting that Coach Cowher and I kind of go in together. I mean, I was so just giggly like a kid, you know, because, you know, a third rounder back from 1998. I never thought that I would be recognized as one of the great players to wear the black and gold. And so seeing my picture up there amongst some of the great fraternity of brothers that wore the uniform before me and some that I played with was just awesome.
It's an honor. You know, I'm very proud to be included and selected to be a part of that group. It's kind of a legacy that, you know, whenever a family comes through, they get to see that I played here and that I was thought of to have been a contributor and a good player here.
4-time Super Bowl champion, number 79.
Great job, Kent. And Mike, your thoughts on just that ceremony at halftime on Monday night?
Well, that very last clip there, where the banners roll out of the latest and greatest, I got to tell you, our producer, photographer, should be up there, Kent Urbanski, because he's actually experienced a lot of these great moments.
He really has.
And he was all over this piece. I think this night was as much about him as them because he enjoyed it so much. But it's special to think about, and it's also a sad reminder of how quickly life goes by.
It is. It's hard to believe, and we'll have to put a nomination for Kent in for next year's
Hall
class.
of Honor.
We'll see what happens. Well, coming up after the break, we'll head to the South Side and check in with the team as they have a short work week as they get ready for the Baltimore Ravens. Stay with us.
You're watching Black and Gold Today. You're watching Black and Gold Today.
Welcome back. The Steelers have another huge divisional game Sunday when they entertain the Baltimore Ravens. Mike, it's crazy to think after starting 0-3, Pittsburgh could actually get back into this race and be in good shape with back-to-back victories.
Yeah, and the fact that the Browns beat the Ravens, I mean, this division is still very much a head-scratcher and where it's going to end up. But I said it at the top of the show. You get a win against this Raven team, and you've now got 2 wins in your division, 2 in a row.
Yep.
It's, you know, we're not sitting
And you
here
protect
thinking,
home field
"Woe
as
is me."
well
And
with those
you
wins.
start protecting home field.
That's right.
You know, so it's fun again. I'm happy to be here.
It is. Likewise. Well, at his weekly press conference, head coach Mike Tomlin shared his thoughts on facing the Ravens.
Baltimore is going to be prepared for it, but I imagine Baltimore is going to have a certain level of preparedness for it because of the nature and the functions of their offense. So, you know, we did what we had to do to win that game with given circumstances and the players available to us, and we'll shape a plan that puts us in position to win this one with the current mix of players and under the circumstances. And I acknowledge that it could be different. I acknowledge that it could be very different, quite frankly, than what you saw on Monday night. We're just in a fragile state right now, and we need to do whatever it is we need to do to move the ball and win football games.
With more from the Steelers practice facility, here's Caroline Peters, along with special guest Tim Benz, the host of the Steelers pregame show on WDVE on the South Side.
Hey guys, I have Tim Benz here from the DVE Pittsburgh Steelers pregame show and Trib Live. Always a joy having you on the show. Tim, we saw a lot of that Wildcat offense. Do you think this is something we'll see more often?
I think it was something that the Steelers needed to try to make Mason Rudolph as comfortable as possible against the Bengals. I think it was more of a case of desperate times, call for desperate measures. It was creative. It was a fun watch. But even as Mike Tomlin pointed out in his press conference on Tuesday, it's not that sustainable, certainly not to be a base offense. The goal is to have Mason Rudolph grow as a passer more in the coming weeks.
And when he did pass the ball down the field, he did it well. So you think that he's been growing and developing in that position?
Yeah, I think that he's gotten better. I think he's getting more comfortable each time he's out there, but this is the biggest step and the biggest challenge that he's seen so far against the Baltimore Ravens defense.
And that defense, I mean, they had 8 sacks. They looked pretty solid. The Steelers defense, what are your thoughts on this and how they've grown?
Oh, I thought that for the first time, they really exploited for 4 quarters a mismatch against the Bengals. You know, they had some mismatches in the previous 3 weeks that for the first half or bits and pieces they took advantage of, but that was 4 quarters of dominance up front against an overmatched offensive line, and that's exactly how they needed to perform, and we hadn't seen that yet from that defensive front.
All right, and now we got the win, and we're going to take on the rivals, the Ravens. What do they need to do to win this one?
I think it goes back to what we talked about before. I think the passing game really needs to become more diversified, and they need to be able, they'll never get to Lamar Jackson the way that they got to Andy Dalton. That's just not going to happen. He can escape so much easier.
Yeah.
So they've got to contain the rush lanes and keep Jackson in the pocket and not allow him to escape while still at the same time applying pressure.
All right, Tim, thanks so much for joining me on the show. And Mike, we're going to send it down to you with the players.
Splitting a pair of games with the Ravens last fall, the Steelers did see quarterback Lamar Jackson, but it was in a very limited role last year. That will not be the case. It's the complete package this time around for the dual threat quarterback Lamar Jackson against the black and gold, a challenge the Steelers are embracing going in.
It's just Ravens have been known for, I've known them ever since I've been in the league, with Joe Flacco was always there. He was the guy. Lamar brings a completely different aspect, being able to run, being able to be that mobile. So, you know, their running game is very special.
Nobody is putting up more yards per game or more rushing yards each week than Baltimore.
It's a different type of game. It's more they're going to try to run the ball at us, try to get us on double teams, and just we got running quarterback, so we got to contain him too. So it's going to be a big challenge.
It's not your typical Ravens defense, coming in 27th in total defense, yielding nearly 400 yards per game.
I think it's always physical, and it's a lot of mutual respect and hard-fought battles that have always been close since I've been here. It's always been seems to be 3 points, 1-score games, kind of thing. So I'm sure they'll be excited, ready to go. It's already an important game the way this thing's kind of shaping out this season with our division. So we're excited.
Obviously, I knew it was a rivalry, but I don't know too much about it. Like, this is my first time playing the Ravens ever. You know, my whole time in Seattle, we never played the AFC North, so this is my first time playing those guys. And you know, from our first team meeting today, Mike Tomlin made it a big emphasis on how big the rivalry is, and you know how it's going to be a bloodbath path.
The Steelers passed their second primetime test of the season when it was gut check time coming through Monday night against Cincinnati. And now a second straight win in the AFC North could completely change the narrative when Pittsburgh takes on Baltimore Sunday at 1 o'clock at Heinz Field. Reporting on the South Side, Mike Fenner for Black and Gold Today.
Thanks, everyone. Coming up next on Black and Gold Today, the best part of the entire week is our Fans Sound Off segment, and we'll give you our keys to the game against Baltimore. All of that coming up next.
You're watching Black and Gold Today. You're watching Black and Gold Today.
Welcome back, and Mike, this is the best part of the show each and every week where the fans grab the microphone and voice their opinions.
And based on a small sample size, Steelers Nation is still optimistic in 2019.
Tough start to the season, but why do you think they can turn it around?
I feel like if they just use teamwork, they can score touchdowns and play good defense.
1-3 at this point. Yesterday, Cleveland wins. They beat Baltimore, so 2-2. 1-3 at that point. You're only a game back, really, so it's looking, it's possible. It's doable.
What about the Ravens matchup coming up after that? I mean, that's another game that's always pretty tough, right?
I think they can beat them if their defense does good and if they are able to stop the quarterback.
I think the team this year plays with heart, which is a little different than the past where you have a few of the players that are more out for their own stats and how much money they can make.
I've been a fan since the mid-'60s, diehard since the Immaculate Reception. I kind of wear it on my sleeve.
Nice. Why do you think they're going to turn it around this year?
I'm hoping they turn it around. I mean, it's disappointing with Ben going down. I do feel like that Mason can do the job.
And Mike, based on those remarks, the glass is still half full for the Steelers and Steeler Nation.
I think more than half full, to be honest with you. It just feels that way. It might have been Kent or somebody was talking with me before the game on Monday night. It just felt good. It felt different, and they
was there
really
a sense of relief?
Yeah, I don't even know if it was just relief. It was just like, okay, let's just get this in gear. We know what we need to do. We know who we have on this team, and they responded to their critics in a good way, saying, okay, we're not giving up. We're not throwing in the towel. Let's play football.
And that leads us now to our keys to the victory in week number 5 against the Ravens. And Mike, the first key is to just keep that momentum going, as you mentioned.
And that is the key. You Steeler football, get back to Steeler football. You've gotten there, now stay there. That's the blueprint and the key in Baltimore. Secondly, we saw it on Monday night. Dominant defense. Will you get 8 sacks? Tim Benz says no. I doubt it as well, but if you can keep it, and let me say this about the defense. The key defensively isn't, oh my gosh, the defense is back on the field. You got the sense that the defense couldn't wait to get back on the field because they were having so much fun out there, and that's what you've got to keep coming at it. And the running game, we saw signs of it reemerging. Well, it needs to now take over. It needs to be that, we went with the Wildcat. Well, the running game needs to be that go-to part of the offense that defines Steeler football.
And the Steelers have a lot of running backs, James Conner and Samuels, and Cleveland had great success going on the road and running the ball against this Ravens defense. Do you feel like they can possibly do that against them at Heinz Field?
Absolutely. And now you have a Raven team that's preparing for a Steeler offense that they're kind of like, okay, what is it we're going to see? I remember just when we implemented the Wildcat on Monday night, seeing Mason Rudolph run out to wideout, and like, where is this going? And I was actually a little bit surprised it was Samuels because James Conner was a running back in high school. I think he threw more touchdowns than my son did, who was the quarterback in high school. So I was hoping to see Conner run that Wildcat.
Well, still to come on the show, it's our Black and Gold flashback and our picks of the week. Stay with us.
You're watching Black and Gold Today. You're watching Black and Gold Today.
The Steelers at Ravens, December 2015. Both teams would trade punches as usual in this often physical matchup between division rivals. Ryan Mallett threw a career-high 274 yards in his first start, and the Ravens defense held the Steelers offense in check for most of the game. The Ravens won 20-17 to complete the sweep of the division foe.
Mike, let's take a look at this week's choices for our fantasy football. And of course, our guru Paul has another list for us to share with everybody out there.
And Carson Wentz at quarterback, Philadelphia Eagles. And Carson is coming on and certainly proving to be what everyone thought he would be after his great performance as a rookie. Dalvin Cook at the running back slot, along with Alvin Kamara, he likes. Could win you some money and pick up some points for you. At wide receiver from Houston, DeAndre Hopkins and Julian Edelman from the New England Patriots. At tight end, look at the guy he likes from Seattle. Will Disley is the man. But who do you like? Don't make emotional picks. Pick logically.
Absolutely.
That's the problem. That's why some guys don't even pick guys from their favorite teams, but then they never end up watching their favorite teams because they're scanning through trying to find their guys, and it's certainly a different world in the fantasy land.
Definitely do your homework and making sure you use
Yes.
your head and not your heart.
You'd think I'd be good at fantasy football because my life's like a fantasy.
I'm terrible at it. But anyways, what we are good at least what the standings are starting to show, is that we know how to pick games. As we take a look going into week number 5, Caroline picking up her first towel of the season as she was able to get the correct, at least score to a degree, as she had the tiebreaker. She is now on the board. She is tied with Mike Fenner and myself. Mike, you got to pick it up here. You got to get a towel on the board.
Yeah, Mike Gallagher coming in last. That's a shocking report. That might be the lead story tonight. I don't know.
Here are our picks for week number 5 for the second straight week. All of us like the Steelers to win. The question will be who gets the tiebreaker, as Pittsburgh will try to make it back-to-back wins. Mike, why did you pick your score?
Well, I just think it's going to be a battle, and it's going to be close, but I like the Steelers coming out in a close one.
And finally, the Steelers are back on the West Coast as they pay a visit to Los Angeles this time to battle the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. If recall, the Chargers were able to pick up a close victory on the road. And that does it for this edition of Black and Gold Today. For Mike Gallagher, I'm Jay Pushkar, and from our entire staff, have a great weekend.
Thanks for watching. Join us next week for another edition of Black and Gold Today.